Hi everybody, Professor Snart checking in here, this time my face instead of my computer screen. Although I've been spending a lot of time staring at that in the last couple of days, it really feels in this 5-week format that we are like literally a day into classes, and it already feels like we are just racing to keep pace. Anyway, our first due date is right around the corner. Units 1 and 2 due Friday, May 30th. And I'm not going to pretend that this is an exhaustive list of everything that you have to do, but I'll try to hit on some of the major things. Obviously, for Unit 1, you are doing the introductions discussion board, including your original post, but also replies to other students. So always remember that reply component. Often, especially if you do the one post, one day and plan to reply later rather than doing them all at once, it's easy to forget those replies, so just make sure you've done the whole package for each of those discussion boards. But obviously you're also completing your student homepage. Again, just kind of introducing yourself to the class, but importantly including an image so that it shows up within the homepage itself, not just as an attached file. It's really important that we have those images, because the whole point is not just to kind of get to know each other through those text-based introductions, but to really be able to put a face to names a little bit, so that you do feel like you're kind of part of a class, even though we're online and geographically maybe all over the place. And then Unit 2 actually has us doing some of our first fairly narrowly focused writing assignments for the class. The first one is framing a memory. It's set up as a discussion board, but it's primarily a writing assignment, and then you're being able to read others' posts and provide feedback. And again, it's clearly not a fictional writing assignment, but it's an opportunity for you to take something that you already know about or has already happened, and try to present it in again, not fictional terms like you're making things up, but in writerly terms or literary terms, such that, and it doesn't have to be fancy, but you're presenting it in a way that it's kind of readable and interesting for somebody else, and that's really the trick. So, and that's discussed a little bit more in the assignment itself. And here's a good example of a place within our course where I don't really grade the quality of the writing as good or bad exactly. Certainly, I look for your investment of effort, and the memory you choose doesn't have to be some earth-shattering or life-changing thing, although for many people it could be. But it's really more, what's the effort you've made to make this meaningful for somebody else, right, to whom it didn't actually happen. So of course it has meaning to you, that's almost a given. But can you relay that so it's meaningful for somebody else? And then a lot of the feedback you'll get on the writing is, like it will be throughout the course, really kind of coming back through the replies that you're getting from other people in the course, rather than tons of feedback from me about the writing per se. Again, I'm always here to answer questions or look at things on a more sort of individualized basis, but I'm really interested just in your effort in getting something out there, and then especially your effort in terms of replying in some meaningful way to the other posts that you're reading. And certainly I encourage people, although I don't really expect you to read every single post, but to read as many as you can, even though you're just replying to like 1, 2, or 3, or whatever the requirement happens to be. There's also a second piece then within Unit 2, having you look at like a multimedia essay by an author named Sonia Huber, who, and I just realized today that the web address I had for that site was incorrect. It took you to her weblog, I think, but not to that particular piece that I wanted you to read. So hopefully everyone's getting to the right place. And it's sort of like a video essay or multimedia essay. There's 4 pictures that you can hover your mouse over, and each of these sort of takes you to a different piece of text so you can navigate a little bit differently. So it's interesting as a document just in terms of its multimedia presentation, which is kind of cool, but also just in terms of some of the ideas that it explores, which really hinge on that big question of how do I write, both in very practical terms, but also maybe a little more abstractly or sort of theoretically. And of course, this is important for us to think about early in our course, because, along with doing the writing, we want to think about ourselves as writers and how we function. Again, both practically, like when and how do you make time to write, but also a little more theoretically, like what kind of writing do you want to do? In what ways do you make notes for yourself or record details or events or experiences or just little oddities that you run into that really are so important, for as the kind of elemental units that go to make up longer poems or short stories or plays or whatever it is we want to create. So again, I fixed that link. It's getting you to the right spot. But really more generally, as far as our course goes, just be aware of how quickly those due dates come around, and really not how much work there is in terms of like a big essay that you've got to write, but there are, lots of things to do. Discussion boards, there may be like other reading assignments built into the units. So it's not one big lump of the thing that you've got to do, but there are numerous things to take care of before that due date shows up. So the first due date then again is the 30th, Friday, May 30th. Our next one comes right around the corner next Tuesday, June the 3rd. And you'll notice again, in an effort to give us a little more space for those, for our first workshop, which is Unit 5, Units 3 and 4 share that same Tuesday due date. So in addition to making sure you're on top of work now, also be sure you're kind of looking a little bit ahead to see what's around the corner. And again, if you do run into links that don't seem to take you to the right place or take you to no place, or wording that's out of date or doesn't make any sense, please let me know. I try to catch everything, obviously, but sometimes things are, I just don't click it, or it's buried in the course somewhere that I haven't looked, or whatever. So let me know if you see anything that just doesn't seem to be working right or doesn't look right. And obviously, if you have questions about course content or just how the course is supposed to function, again, be in touch with me right away, and I'll try to get back with you, basically as soon as I get that message. All right, we'll talk to you soon.